Hi, so this week we're going to continue on our topic of social media. But first, I'm hoping that you're getting a little settled in. I sent feedback on all of the logging out forms that were submitted. And so you should get an email with that with a link. And when you click the link, it takes you back to the form or back to your responses. And my feedback will be under different questions or things that you put down there. So definitely go check that out if you want to know what I had to say. And for some of you, it's an opportunity to get some extra points on that. So definitely go check out that link. If it shows up in your spam folder, you want to make sure to add me as a contact so that those things don't end up in your spam folder. Anyhow, last week we read chapter 5 and we got into just the starting parts of social media. This week, we're going to dive a little deeper. And I'll tell you, it was really interesting to read through the comments that were made on the Discord forum about social media and about the attention economy. It was really interesting. And one of my goals in the class is to get you to look at technology in a way that's different than you might have thought of before. And so this week, we're definitely going to take a twist on social media that a lot of people don't consider. So why don't I just jump into a screen share and show you what we're going to talk about. So this is the video. What are we doing this week? You're watching it right now, so that's really good. You should always watch that in the beginning of the week. And then there's the checklist, and the checklist is the glue that holds all of these tiles together. So it's the glue that lets you understand how things are connected, hopefully. And by the way, never mind that you're seeing some things on here that you won't see on yours. I'm in teacher edit mode, so that's why you're seeing that sort of stuff. Anyhow, down here in the think section, we've got a lot of thinking to do this week. There's not a chapter to read, and so it might look like there's a lot of items down here, but really a lot of things dovetail together, and you're not reading a chapter in the textbook, so it kind of works out equal there. This first thing is digital transformation, socialnomics. So last week we talked about the attention economy. This week we're going to look at what socialnomics is all about. And then these two go together. So how social media can make history. And Ted Shirky, this is a TED Talk from, gosh, like 2008. It's been a while now, actually. However, all the stuff he talks about is still relevant, and he gives a background history into how we got to the point where we are now and how the communication landscape has changed over time to bring us to a really interesting era. The TED Radio Hour, I don't know if you've ever listened to the TED Radio Hour, but I really like it because they take a topic, social media or whatever, artificial intelligence, something, and then they talk to 4 different TED speakers about their talk. So it's kind of the inside behind the scenes look of the actual talk. And so this is a conversation with Clay Shirky. It's actually an audio podcast, so you can just hit go, listen to it, while you're doing some other things. But it kind of gives some interesting insight to think about. And on the checklist, there's some questions about these 2 videos to help you think, because we're going to be talking about this in Zoom. Down in the Learn section, this is where I'm talking about. We're going to hit social media from a slightly different angle. We're going to look at using it for academic purposes or for career purposes. How does that work? But first, this is a student guide. This is a video made by a CIS101 student a couple of years ago. And he basically gives a tour of Twitter, and it more or less looks the same today. So if you want to hear from a former student what this all looks like, watch it. It's a short video. These 2 articles are the same. One's just a PDF version of the article, and one goes to the website, but I PDF'd it just in case the website disappeared. But it's a beginner's guide to academic Twitter. So how could you possibly use Twitter or and Twitter's just a kind of a placeholder for most types of social media. It just happens to be the one that we're using. But the concepts will be similar. You can use them across the board. But anyhow, so how would you use this academically? Could this be of any benefit to you? Could it hurt you in some ways? Go through this guide. You'll get some really good ideas, I think. This is a short article about how to use social media in your career, because a lot of employers now, when they go to hire you, they'll look up your social media history for better or for worse. It could help you or it could hurt you. So take a look at this. And then there's a really short article on how to use hashtags and what that's all about. Hashtags are just really a simple way for us to find things on the internet. So you tag something, like let's say you had a picture of a duck at the lake at BBC. You might tag it duck, hashtag BBC, hashtag lake. And anybody who's looking for a duck on the lake could click those links and see what they come up with. So for our class, we're using hashtag VVC CIS101. Anyhow, when you read that article, it'll help you understand a little bit how they're used and how they might be useful. Now, when we jump down to the do part, this is where we pull things together. And I will tell you that that follow 50 assignment's a kind of a big one. It's got multiple parts. Actually, let me just click into it because it's going to give some details here, but go to the assignment instructions and that will open up another page. And just go through this step by step. This will help you understand what the different parts are. I always like to open the table of contents here so you can go through, but what we're going to do is we're going to find tech related accounts to follow, 50 of them at least. Our goal is going to be to get 60 to 70, but they have to be tech related active accounts. And this will show you how to do this. It's going to show you how to create lists. You might have noticed that I added you to one of my lists when I sent you a friend request on Twitter. It's going to show you how to filter this information. It's going to show you how to organize your information. There's more ways to read through what you see on social media than just going down the news feed. You can organize it anyhow. There's lots of different ways. I won't go into too many details. Create a list, lots of things. Step 4 for credit. There's almost always on these assignments a section that says for credit. Okay, and there's 3 things you got to do. And then you have to submit it. So let me go back to this, read through those details, and then ask me the questions. You should probably complete the steps Monday or Tuesday, and then plan on spending Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe even Sunday reading, taking 20 or 30 minutes a day to read through. Now that you've got 50 or 60 tech related accounts, kind of read through. Do you see any trends? What kind of information comes across? Is there anything useful? How are people connected? There's all kinds of things you can do to keep track of that. All right, because you're going to be sharing that in a post, what your observations are. So that's a big assignment, and that is not one to wait until Sunday to do, because you'll miss the boat if you do that. The second one, issues in social media, this is kind of a free choice one. And so if you go to the TED link here, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of talks about social media. What I want you to do is stick to the first page because, yeah, that goes down to 2018. I think on page 2, there's another 2018, but then it's starting to get a little older. Not that those are bad or not interesting, but for this assignment, I want you to stay fairly current. And I want you to pick 2 talks, one that is pro social media and one that is con social media, against social media. So you're going to watch the 2 talks and then you're going to compare them for us and post here to Moodle. This is not a Discord post. This is a discussion in Moodle. Create a new post by Sunday, and then by the following Tuesday, try to follow up. So read through this, but it's always interesting the talks that people list. So when you make your post, you're going to put the name of the talk and the link to the talk, and then what your discussion is, pro and con. And there's some questions here that you can answer. Finally, this is our first week of Zoom calls. I'm so excited. That's always a lot of fun. And it worked out that we consolidated our times a little bit and that our sessions worked out evenly with the number of students in each session. So that was a lot of fun. And just to give yourself an idea ahead of time of how I grade this, if you go to the Zoom discussion, what I'm looking for is an insight. Okay, so we'll have the Zoom call, we'll do lots of stuff. It's going to be hands-on. I'm looking for an insight that comes out of what we did. Okay, so read through this, ask me any questions if you need to. But the important thing is, and I'm trying to think if I wrote it on here. I wrote it somewhere. Yeah, I wrote it on the checklist. You have to be prepared. Come prepared with a tech-related article that has to do tech-related news within the last year. okay? Now, if you have absolutely no idea where to find something about that, you may have noticed, and this will look different because I'm not in tile view, but there's a technology news tile. And all of these link to sources that are pretty reliable sources that will give you information about tech. Now, mind you, the Google Tech News is just a Google search, and so is the Twitter technology hashtag. But the rest of these are fairly reliable off the top, sources that you could pick. So just glance through and find something that looks interesting and be prepared to talk about it a little bit in Zoom. Let me turn editing off. That'll make this a little bit easier for you to see what I'm talking about here. This technology news tile, that's what it will look like. So this is a big think week. This is a week where we look at how to use social media in unusual ways, maybe interesting ways, maybe helpful ways. This is where we look at the pros and cons of using social media. There's all kinds of good stuff this week, but jump in, get started, come to Zoom prepared with your article and having looked at the Think videos from this week and last week. And if you do that, it'll be a really good Zoom meeting. Looking forward to seeing you.